Hey there, I'm Jonathan Weeks from Shamanic Drums, and this is a short video to do with oiling drums, just to answer a load of questions that there are to do with the aftercare and how to look after and keep our drums in good condition. So starting with the question of why we oil our drums and why we need to. If we start thinking off about our own skin, just like our own skin, the drum skins naturally have oils in them. We know when our skin is feeling dry, we know that it starts feeling tight, we know that that's when it starts to feel sore. It's not too different for the drum skin. The purpose of the oil in the drum skin is that it keeps it supple and allows it to move. Why does it need to move? It needs to respond to the temperatures. It needs to respond to the humidity in the air. It gets tighter and more kind of flatter, essentially, when it's in cold and humid environments. And so the oils in there allow the skin to be able to move as it needs to. The other time it needs to move, very importantly, is when you're playing it. It's constantly vibrating, and it's the oils in it that allow it to vibrate and keep it supple so that it can move and make the sound that it needs to. So the reason why we need to oil it is over time the oils come out of the drum. The first time that happens is when it's being made because it's soaked in water. But after that, through constant use, and especially when it's brought out on lovely sunny days, and when it goes back into bags, and when it's constantly being played, gradually, it loses some of those oils. So to keep the drum in good condition, that's where we need to oil it ourselves, where we need to take care of it and do something probably about once a year, just to look after it and make sure that it keeps the amount of oils that it needs in the hide. There is a whole range of different oils that you can use. The most simple and easy one to go for is just an olive oil, just as light, a clear olive oil as you can get. Other people have used neatsfoot oil. Neatsfoot oil is the oil that's used for conditioning the rawhide and leather on saddles. Another one that people have used before is shea butter, really wanting to spoil their drums and rubbing a nice shea butter in there. There are probably many different oils that you can use. The questions to ask yourself is it going to colour the hide? Some oils will make the hide darker, so if you're wanting to keep the same colour and keep the same patterns that you have in the drum, then you want to use an oil that is clear and light. If you use some of the darker ones, it may affect the colour of it. The other thing to think of with any of the oils is it a liquid at room temperature? So often I'm asked the question about coconut oil, and coconut oil, when it's been tried, because it's solid at room temperature, you can get it rubbed into the drum, but at different times it starts to leave a bit of a residue on the outside, and there may be another number of other oils that do the same thing. Alternatively, if you are wanting to make your drum skin appear darker, something like walnut oil will do that. And if you research it, there may be other oils as well. But if you're just wanting to condition the drum head and to re-oil the skin, something just as like a simple olive oil will do the trick. So in terms of when you know you need to oil the drum, it may be something that you do regularly each year. You may choose in the spring to do it, and the spring's a good time because as you're going from the colder part of the year to the warmer part of the year, you want to make sure that the drum is able to stretch as it needs to as it goes into the warmer weather. A lot of people play their drums more in the summer because they're out at different festivals and they're outdoors more, so it may be a time that if you're using your drum more, you may want to prepare it for that season by oiling it. The other time to decide or to know when you need to oil your drum is just by looking at any signs that it needs it. If there are any patches that are looking really dry, parts where the colour, where it was once very strong and vibrant, is starting to look very dull, and if I hold up on this one here, around this side of it here you can see that it's gone very light and white. That's a sign that the oils have gone from it. It's a sign that it's very dry, and left like that, when it does start to get very warm and it's played out in the warm weather, when it starts to stretch, that's going to not have as much stretch as it may need to. and that's the times when drums can start to break. That's the time where drum heads can start to tear when they have weak patches caused by it drying out in areas. So that's the reason why you do need to make sure that you do keep up the conditioning of the drums to oil them. Okay, how to do it. Firstly, be somewhere where it's not too hot, not out in the sunshine. We've picked somewhere here where we're mostly in the shade and it's pretty cool in the air. So I know that it's not going to be too hot for the drum to be sitting outdoors with oil on it. Firstly, I've laid out the towel on the top here. Just going to get another towel to lay it on as well. And now just with the olive oil, putting it onto your hands, not pouring directly onto the drum, but just rubbing that in all over the drum head. Really rubbing that into the skin. Then going to the sides. And again, just rubbing that into the sides of the drum. Really working it into those places that you've seen that are looking dry. And then as well on the back, where there's the overlap, just making sure that it's going all over that area there in the overlap. It's often on these bits where it's bending over the wood where you notice more of the white marks, because that's where the hide's been stretched a lot. And in those bits where it's been stretched is often where you find that the oils go from it soonest. And they're also the corners that are going to be rubbing against drum bags and other surfaces when you're picking it up all the time. On the back you've also got all of the lacing and all of the handle in the centre there. You can use a paintbrush for this as well, or a pastry brush, just to really rub it in to areas to make sure that it gets in between all of the lacing as best as possible. I'm just putting it on thickly all around the sides of these bits of lacing here. And again, the areas that you notice that have gone particularly white through drying over time, those are just the bits just to give a bit of extra oil to. All in and under and around the handle. Checking for any spots that you might have missed. And all of the bits on the inside, just spread them around. Any drips that have fallen through. Okay, and that's the drum oiled all over. What I'll do with this now is I won't be leaving it outdoors. I'll be wrapping it up in the towel and taking it back indoors somewhere cool. And again, over the next 3 days, very similar to when a newborn drum is drying, it will stay somewhere cool, it will stay away from the heaters, it will stay away from the sunlight. And just have those 3 days just to soak in. Give it that time just for all of that oil just to soak in. If there is any excess oil on the outside at this moment, you can just go over with a tissue just to take off the excess once you've given it a bit of time to soak in. Then after 2 to 3 days, once it's really soaked up all of that oil, the drum is going to be happy and ready to play again and in good condition. And you may notice a change in the sound, you may notice a change in how it acclimatises with wherever you are. Okay, so I hope that answers the questions that you have about oiling the drum, about keeping them in good condition. And that now you're able to, after seeing it, see whether or not your drum needs it and be able to look after it as it needs it. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a very happy summer of drumming.